It's YouTube Wednesday! We're making armor today, but this same technique can be used for futuristic armor or steampunk or whatever. This is a camping pad from Walmart that costs $6.88. It is a closed cell foam, which looks like this. Frank, if you would stand right there in front of that table, and then if you would hold that at your shoulders. I'm just getting a basic measurement. I'm not doing anything crazy. I want to leave a lot of room for movement. And obviously this is just costume armor, so I can have some gaps in it and not worry about his safety. Just need a pair of scissors, and I just traced out where his neck is. And I'm just going to cut that out. Back here. I'm feeling for his shoulders. I'm giving him plenty of room to move his arm. And I'm just going to copy that on the other side. And I'm just going to do it by eye. This one actually comes in a little bit more. And I'm making armor for monsters here, so I'm not worried about exact measurements. I really never am. I'm going to use a heat gun, and this stuff is formable and shapeable with a heat gun. Because basically this is kind of a foamed plastic. It's good and hot now. It's good and hot. And you can just kind of see, as I'm hitting the heat gun on it, it will open up a little bit. That's because the heat is relaxing the foam. If I want this to curl this way, all that I have to do is hold it in that shape and then heat gun it. Now I have shaped this piece of armor completely the other way from what it was, and I can further shape it. I could make this a shoulder piece, but I'm going to shape all of my armor this way with the heat gun. I'm just going to cut out where I had my lines. I also don't want these corners because that looks very unrealistic. Because it was rolled up, it wants to do that. I have to use the heat to get it to be shaped the way that I want it to be shaped. You can see I now have a piece of foam that's holding its shape. I'm going to start my decorating. I have a soldering iron, and with it I want to make a couple openings for straps. This isn't the funnest stuff to breathe in, but it's a nice, easy, clean hole for strapping. right now, I'm just going to use my soldering iron to make a couple valleys. My goal with this armor is kind of to put so many details in it that their eye has no choice but to be confused by looking at the whole thing, so they don't focus on any single part of it. One of the keys to good costuming is to have so much to look at that they don't get bogged down in details. That's really easy with something like a stilt costume, because they take it in as a whole and they don't focus on one little thing. I'm just doing a test with this hot glue gun on a piece of foam to make sure that this glue, this is a dual temp gun, I want to make sure it's not so hot it melts into the foam. It can melt into it a little bit, but what I really want is I want that raised bead, because I'm going to use that raised bead effect to do decoration on the armor. Remember what I said about starting in the middle and working your way out? I now have to not mess this up while I work on this part. Did I do that on purpose so it'd be a valuable lesson? No, I just screwed up. Now, inside of these squares, these areas that I've sectioned off, I'm just going to do some designs. And I'm just going to do some flowing circles and loops. I want hard edges on most of this because angles are scary. Anything soft and round isn't as scary as hard angles. In art, in high school, I had an art teacher who told me, fill my page. Whatever I'm drawing, whatever I'm working on, make it fill the page. And that was a very valuable lesson, because art that takes up the whole page looks better than just one well-drawn thing in the center. That is probably the only thing I remember from art in high school, but it's a good lesson that I took with me. And it doesn't matter what I do. You guys can tell I'm not thinking this through. I'm not working really hard on this. Just fill your page. That's the point I'm doing right here. You could do a nice rampant stag design, but if you do that, fill your page. You know, do trees or something.
Is it best to be symmetrical?
Pretty close.
As close as possible.
Most armor themes are symmetrical. Don't limit what you do with this material based on what I have said. You can do shin guards with it. You can do big cuffs with it. There's so many armor pieces and costume pieces that you can do with this. Don't just think you can make breastplates. Yes, I'm showing you how to make a breastplate, but I'm also showing the technique of using this foam to make armor. Or not just armor, but any kind of shape. That's the big deal. That's still very hot, so don't touch it. I'm gonna let that cool for a little bit before I do anything else. I'm gonna spray paint that in order to get it all one base color before I add the straps and any other details. You know how to spray paint. I'll come back when it's done. I've taken some canvas material. I have white canvas material because I use it for a bunch of stuff. And in here I have a leather dye from Tandy. It's the gel antique stain mixed with some water. And I just use that, and I'm just going to put in a piece of the canvas, and that's just going to dye it really quick. And I don't want it to stay that brown, so what I'm going to do is just squeeze it out. Wear gloves. It's leather stain. It turns out people are made of leather. We just don't know it yet. And that is how it turns out. So I'm going to knock out these straps and I'll get back to you. I have my breastplate that I have painted. The color that I used was Espresso by Krylon for plastic. So I've got this nice dark brown. You can see I also reshaped it a little bit back to what it was before I did the hot glue. Now I'm going to dry brush it with gold to hit all this detail that we did. I don't have any gold acrylic paint, or I would just use it. So you're going to see me spray paint into a cup and then paint with that. Not ideal, but it works. So that just collects the paint for me, but it will not stay liquid long. And I'm really just trying to hit the highs, which are the hot glue ridges that we put down. And again, I'm running kind of against. I don't want to run with this big strip of hot glue. I want to run against it so it pulls it off of my brush. I'm not super worried about paint getting on the foam. It's not a big deal if it does, but I am trying to mostly hit the high spots. Also, right before I spray painted, I pulled off as many of those hot glue strings as I could, because I hate those things. And this whole emblem in the center, I'm just going to kind of paint up, but I still want to dry brush it. And now my paint's drying. Still want to dry brush it so it's not one big gold disc. Okay, I'm going to dry brush the rest of this and I'll get back to you. I have my straps that I made from canvas. I'm going to very simply put them through the holes that I already have. And I'm going to put a bit of hot glue on them. This hot glue is very hot. It's like a heat gun that way. And I just want to get enough on there so that I can overlap. Squeeze it, but not so much that it shoots out the sides, because my hot glue is pink and that would be embarrassing. Alright, here's the armor. I'm just going to kind of put it on him, spin around. I have very simple set of straps, and I'm just going to tie this on for simplicity's sake. If I did buckles and whatnot, then I'd have to have a hole everywhere I needed a hole. It's a lot more complicated. If I tie it on, I get this great raggy kind of look, and I'm tying these just through this. It gives an interesting pattern to the back of him, because I didn't do a piece of armor there, and I wouldn't spend the time to do that on a costume. Turn around. I have a guy in armor. That's kind of cool. This whole thing took me about an hour, and it will not. How do you feel? You feel like a guy in armor?
Yeah, I don't want to get shot by a bullet though.